It's not every day that you get to be the first person in the entire world to share a drive in a brand new and super exclusive Aston Martin, yet here we are with the new DBR22. Today, I'm with my friends at RFX Collection in Germany, and things are going to get interesting. Launched to celebrate 10 years of Aston Martin's Q division, little is actually known about the DBR22, almost like it slipped under the radar, but today we're going to figure it all out. Having recently been out to drive the Aston Martin Valkyrie Spider right here, and previously the new Aston Martin Valour as well, it feels like I'm quickly becoming Mr. Aston Martin. But nothing, however, is more exclusive than experiencing a car for which there has never been any kind of, quote, review. Today, we're going to drive the DBR22. Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to RFX Collection, and welcome to an exclusive first drive in this Aston Martin. I know what you're thinking, what even is this car? So many people don't really know about it. It completely missed mainstream media attention, and one of the reasons for that is that this was presented back in 2022 alongside the Valkyrie Spider. It was out at Monterey Car Week. I went to take a look at the Spider when it had been introduced, and I also checked out the DBR22 that was launched to celebrate what was then 10 years of Aston Martin's Q division. That's the department that creates these bespoke cars, does all of your individualization, personalization options. The plan was to maybe make 10 of them, one for each year of the car's production. That's grown to become 22, and I think it could often be confused for the V12 Speedster, which I have actually checked out here with RFX Collection as well. It's just currently over in a different room. The idea behind this, though, is to link back to Aston's famous racers of the 1950s, the DBR1, the DB3S, and in fact, back in 2013, so at the 100th anniversary of Aston Martin, they presented the CC100. The idea of that was very much to incorporate some of those design elements in an open-top barchetta, and that obviously arrived before the Monza, Elva, and V12 Speedster that became this trinity of barchetta cars. But there are some details about this which, when you start looking at it up close and more personally, really stand out. For example, the entire front end of the car, everything from here forwards, is one single clamshell, one piece of carbon fiber over the whole front of this car. In fact, in terms of panels, you've got the front, you've got these small lower sections here, you've got the doors on each side, and the same for the rear. The whole of this rear clam is, again, one single piece that curves over past this double buttress that you have sitting behind the occupants. Of course, it's an open car, sunglasses on. This is going to be interesting, hair going everywhere, but it mixes this form factor of the old cars of the 50s. Aston Martin won at Le Mans in 1959, but with modern construction techniques, modern materials. For example, here you have the tail light that runs the full width around the back of it, carbon fiber for all of the bodywork. The interior finished very much along the lines of the car on which it's based, the V12 Speedster that was limited to 88, but obviously with only 22 of these in total. This nice link, 22 cars, DBR22, launched in 2022, 10 years of Aston Martin Q. Now the colorway of this particular example here in RFX's collection actually links to the cars that are behind me. Past the Valkyrie Coupe, we have the continuation series cars, the DB5 Goldfinger, the DB4 GT. Spot the color scheme, it's an exact match, and then next to it the DB4 GT Zagato as well. Absolutely breathtaking in this little lineup, but also to think of Aston Martin and the different cars that they've made. Things like a DB5 to a Valkyrie to an open barchetta that is the DBR22. Now, interestingly, to do a service on the engine, you can't just open it. There's no bonnet that you would normally have. To actually access the engine bay, what you need to do is remove the windshield, this low-cut piece that wraps around in front. Then you can start removing the front end, and it takes 4 hours to do it. So this, I'm going to say awkwardness behind a car, but something that makes it really quite interesting. At the front, this is actually open. Airflow can go straight through. You've got carbon fiber used here around the front grille, but obviously this front end reaching right down towards the splitter at the ground. It's powered by the 5.2 litre twin-turbo V12, makes 715 horsepower, 705 brake horsepower, so a familiar format, 8-speed automatic gearbox. There are a couple of details in here I want to show you a little bit later on, but we should probably get this started. We should probably take it out and go see what it's actually like on the road, because no one's ever shared that experience before. This is a world's first. Let's do it. I'm a big fan of design from the interior and exterior matching. For example, the way that you have the painted stripe coming through the waterfall there between the seats, and then the leather from the inside and the trim coming over the door as well. But we've got the Aston Martin door handles, those pop out. We've got the swan doors, which open slightly upwards as they go outwards. And then there are some very nice details to finish off this cabin. But let me sit inside the carbon fibre seats, because that's my view looking over this windshield. Now, there's an overload of buttons. We're familiar with that from other Aston Martin models. One press for power, another press for ignition. Then we can pop it into Sport, Sport Plus, foot on the brake. The button illuminates red, and take a listen. V12 kicks in, ready for action. Just look around, really nice place to be. Sat inside here, but let's pull it out. Let's get ready to take this for a drive and see what this feeling is like. No one's done this before. So here's the thing. I thought I would be cool and drive this car with no helmet on. I do have one, and I can tell you right now that I'm going to be bailing out and resorting to that very shortly, because at 50 kilometers an hour, this is already pretty windy. At this speed, to be honest, if you're driving around town, sunglasses on, enjoying the sunshine, it is a beautiful afternoon. This is perfection. You've got the murmur of the V12, but similarly to experiencing Elva and also the Monza and passenger rides in the V12 Speedster. I've never driven the V12 Speedster, but I did get a run up the Goodwood Festival of Speed hill climb in the passenger seat to experience it. And the thing is that you have so much wind going past your ears, you can't really hear the engine note. It's just that feeling of being open. In the case of this, with the low windshield in front of me, the interesting thing is how that actually basically refracts the light and almost confuses you a little bit, because you think you've seen a curb where there isn't one. It's actually quite disconcerting, I want to say. So I'm undecided if I want to sit so low that my vision is kind of just through the glass over the steering wheel, tiny little like envelope style view, or whether I want to sit up higher, look out over the top, I have a ton more wind in my face. Now, if I put my foot down 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers, 80 kilometers, 90, I'm going to go to 100 just because. Oh my goodness me, that's the speed limit, 100 kilometers an hour. That's pretty intense with just sunglasses. Now, the Elva with its active air management system at the front does a good job of negating that. And the Monza actually does as well. It has this clever thing that flicks the air up over you. 100 was the happiest I was comfortable in the Monza. In this, it's 75-ish. Oh, this is actually really quite intense. The Sport button, though, drops some gears. But like I say, maybe you can hear it. I can't really hear it. It's so windy. Maybe I can lower the steering wheel a touch. Where's the control? It's an automatic one. And drop my seat a touch. You have manual forwards and backwards, but you do have some control over the seat with the controls on the side of the central tunnel. But yeah, 50 kilometers an hour speed limit section couldn't have come around quick enough. It's quite an experience, and I suspect my hair is already doing all sorts of silly, weird and crazy things. Let's go back into automatic. Obviously, I know this powertrain very well. It's similar to the V12 Vantage, the DBS, the V12 Speedster, various different Aston Martin models that have featured this. The DB11 before, obviously the DB12 has gone to the twin-turbo V8. But hey, while these V12 engines exist, we need to enjoy them as much as possible. And obviously the arrival of the new Vanquish is an absolute lifeline to that. A very, very beautiful looking car. And an exciting era for Aston Martin in general, truth be told. But we need to get somewhere probably, do you know what? I'm just going to find somewhere here that I can pull over and put a helmet on, because I'm not making this easy on myself. It's really quite intense, actually. It's fun, but it's quite intense. And with sunglasses, my eyes are really watering. You can't see that, but they are really watering behind my sunglasses. Yeah, where can I stop? We've got a traffic light here. I'll find somewhere, I hope. Oh, nice. It feels very cool. Don't get me wrong. Oh, that's a welcome break on the ears. It feels very, very cool. Oh, what's it pinging about? But it sure is intense on the ears. Why am I doing this? Because why not, I guess? It's time. I've pulled into a residential area. This was quite hardcore. So let me just borrow this bus stop for a second. I hope no bus comes, but yeah, this is really, really intense. So into park, sunglasses off for a second. Oh, probably want to keep that running. And then down here we have one helmet ready for the occasion, which RFX Collection kind of prepared me in advance that I'd probably want to wear. So let's pop this on and try and squeeze in. Slightly small for me, but it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers, and I'm having a good day driving this thing. So click that in and then fold down the visor. Oh, that's instantly going to be a whole lot better. So let's wait a second and then get driving again and do it the way I probably should have done it from the beginning. This would have made a whole lot more sense. Oh, it would help if I put it into drive. Right. Okay, yeah, that's different game. Different game. Yeah, I should have done that. I should have done that earlier. Oh well, I didn't. We're here now. I'm not entirely sure where I am, but this is really cool. Driving something like this, you know, imagining the old days of racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, or Mille Miglia, or something like that. And yeah, even with the helmet on, you still feel really, really, really blown around. And this road is quite bumpy as well. I haven't chosen the best bit of tarmac right here. I normally just look at a map and look for something that goes left and right, and this does a very good job of that. It's just not very smooth, but hey, I guess that's a test of the car's credentials as well, because at the end of the day, if it's built in the UK, we have some pretty appalling roads, and everything needs to do a very good job of it. But also, I don't think it's a car that's aimed at driving at Mach 1 million everywhere you go. It's aimed at having fun, so it just skips over some of the bumps a little bit, and it does exactly that. Now, this is in sport mode. Obviously, I'm in auto at the moment. If you drop a shift with the paddle, it then stays down a gear. Stays where you put it. Drop it down to second gear. Sounds amazing. And you know what? The V12 Speedster actually has an incredible sound itself. Maybe it's not as narrow as I thought it was on this road as that Mercedes squeezed by. But I think for this, with such low production numbers, they can be left to be a little bit louder, a little bit shoutier. Whoa, really quite bumpy around here. We might need to go and find something a little bit smoother. As lovely as the countryside like this is, I would prefer a slightly better road to open this up on. Oh, now we're talking. It's very light and nimble. Very point and go. Oh, this is a bit silly, really. The things I do. Well, a quick pit stop for the moment. This is the door handle release. Just pull on that nice little leather strap and step on out, because on a day like today, I mean, look at this weather. Absolutely beautiful, as we would say, and a first opportunity to experience this DBR22. I don't think, as I said earlier, there has ever been a test drive shared in one of these. This is a very special chance to experience what it's about, even if I might currently look a little bit funny wearing the helmet. I do actually have a sun visor, by the way. I can bring that down, and then the onward drive is going to be slightly less blinding. Learning as I go while experiencing this thing, just stopped out in the sunshine to take it in, really, to feast our eyes on what I'm currently having the opportunity to share with you for the first time. Finally, some slightly better tarmac. The V12 sounds amazing. The engine is obviously a big part of this. It might not be in the name like the V12 Speedster, but it's certainly a massively integral part of what you're buying into with one of these. And remember, this is like a £1.5 million car, like $2 million, 2 million euros. That ballpark, that bracket. It's a serious piece of kit. And as we just drive through the trees here, I mean, it just feels so disconnected from a normal driving experience. That's probably the hard bit to explain and to understand. And I have to confess as well, I'm struggling to place where the car is actually on the road. The right-hand side, looking in the mirror, feels very distant. I do have the rear view mirror sitting down here on the front, so I can see if something's following me behind, if there's a car right there. But just cruising along, I mean, that's what it's about, right? This isn't your everyday to the supermarket, go pick up the kids from school car. This is your, I'm just going to take something out to go and have a laugh, drive something a little bit silly, different, have an experience. And I think that's the same with all of these barchetta style cars.
just get a little bit of V12 sound. As soon as the speed picks up though, obviously it gets so windy so quickly that it's basically game over from a conversation. If you had a passenger beside you, you're not really going to be talking to them, or if you are, it's going to be a shout. You're barely going to hear each other. But it's the point. It's about having fun. It's about having a whole lot of fun. As a bit of an experiment, I'm going to go into Sport Plus and put the suspension a little bit stiffer as well. I tell you what, that is instantly almost too stiff. It's actually quite stiff to begin with. If we go all the way into the firmest setting, even on this very smooth bit of tarmac, it's pretty punchy in terms of the stiffness. It's one thing I would comment about the car in general is that the back is very much tending to skip around. And also, as I mentioned, the windshield actually makes it quite difficult to see. It's quite hard to visualize where you are and picture, especially where the front right of the car actually is. But I guess that isn't entirely the point, right? Because the point of the car is to be a bit of a collector's piece, to pay tribute to Aston's history, to look back at the DBR1 and winning Le Mans for the first time back in 1959, and to make a modern recreation of that that's incredibly limited, especially for Aston collectors, the VIP customers who own amazing fleets of Aston Martin cars. And once you consider that and you look at it, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to behold. It's not necessarily so much for what I'm doing, you know, kind of taking it out for a spirited little drive as we maneuver through some of these streets. Just as it opens up, that soundtrack, that's where it wins. A lovely V12 engine note. Just a really fun driving experience. And at the end of the day, isn't that what this is for? Isn't the whole point to be able to go out and have a bit of fun and just enjoy the car, enjoy driving it? You know, for me, as we drop down through those gears, and obviously I'm being fairly gentle with it, it is basically a brand new car. Don't want to abuse it off the block. It's a very familiar driving experience, just in a different way. The thing I'm going to say though, don't forget your helmet, don't forget a lid. This would not be fun without the helmet on. I'm glad I managed to track one down and bring it with me, because otherwise, you know, when you accelerate, as we come out of the 70 up to 100, that's where it would start to get really blustery. Gosh. Oh, now I'm feeling it. Even with the helmet, I'm feeling it. But hey, doesn't matter. Life couldn't get better. This is perfect. No roof, completely open to the elements, enjoying the experience, having a good time. Just, this is what it's about. This is why we do this. This is my combination: soft suspension, Sport Plus gearbox. The steering is lovely, very lightweight. I'm enjoying just flowing it through the corners here. The thing is, it's quite intense. It's not Valkyrie Spider intense, that's a different league of intense, but it's certainly something you're acutely aware is, like even now, going through gentle corners, you feel it pressuring your neck. After a while, it would actually get really tiring. I think it's more a car for cruising in Monaco, the Riviera, Beverly Hills, that type of thing, than it is for taking for an absolute blast. But I'm still enjoying it. That's at the end of the day what it's about. You know, something like this isn't ever going to be a daily driver. It's always going to be about the experience. And on a day like today, with near on perfect weather and a V12, you know what, the one thing that this needs for me, the one thing to make this go from being a nice fun thing to drive to epic: manual. They made it for the Valour. Obviously this came out first, so it could have been done. It can be mated to this engine, but unfortunately we've got the auto, and I would so much prefer this clutch pedal and a shifter and this kind of open experience. It would be even more closely connected to history, right? It'd be even more on what the car was about. hey, maybe there can be a DBR25 next year and they can make 25 with a manual gearbox. Aston, if you're watching, there's an idea for you. For me, that's the icing on the cake with this, really. And updating the infotainment. You know, I've talked about that enough times in previous videos. It's just a little bit old school, a little bit out of date, a little bit in need, really, of being brought into the modern era for a brand new car. So yeah, give me a manual, probably just get rid of the windshield completely. I don't think it serves much purpose. And onto a winner, absolutely onto a winner. I just wish it was a little bit more composed. Skips around a bit more than I expected. All right, last little drive for me.
That's been really quite fun, but there are a few more things I'd like to show you about the car. The looks, the appearance, the livery on it. This colour is actually called Snow Shadow Grey. It's green in appearance, it's got a silver undercoat, a nice soft metallic colour. It very much fits with the era, with the style, and then the bespoke livery over the top of that, done to match, as I mentioned earlier, the DB4 GT continuation car. And obviously this is a continuation of cars that used to race, so the idea of a racing livery with the roundels, with that blue and white stripe to match it. Now, when it comes to this, some other points of note: headlamps. Take a look at the headlamp unit and the complexities of what's going on inside there. What's really interesting about that, to me, obviously hyper modern in terms of what you're looking at, is come and look at the Valkyrie. It's very much what you see inside the Valkyrie's headlamps. So using that technology, that super lightweight setup that they made for the Valkyrie into this as well. And while this isn't chasing lightweighting, it's still cool to have those details. This side strake area with these blades, very reminiscent of the older race cars. Again, just a modern take, having them in exposed carbon fiber. But as I mentioned, the big thing, right, is that this is a car that if you wish to service, it needs a couple of days at the dealer because they've got to disassemble half the car to be able to access it and be able to do things with it. But it's not about that. It's about history. It's about exclusivity. It's about the limited edition nature of it. It's about the fact that you're never going to see another one of these being driven. I would imagine the other 21 cars are basically completely parked up, never going anywhere. Come over this way though, just a couple more things about the interior, because obviously hiding behind this low windshield, you've got the carbon fiber instrument cluster, the carbon fiber of the rear view mirror, the car number, well, the plaque just here, DBR22, 1 of 22, this being car number 21 as it happens, and then the dark night navy blue leather, and the carbon fiber bucket seats. When you're in the seats, super comfortable, but to step over the carbon edge, actually it's not the easiest in the world. Just the way this paint comes through though, the way it flows into the cabin, I'm a big fan of that. All of the exposed carbon again around the back. And these shapes, to have all of this from a single piece of carbon over the entirety of the rear clam. Of course, you have your full filler cap over there, and then tucked down below, you barely even notice them, the two exhaust tailpipes right down there in the base of the car, kind of under the rear bumper. I was going to say diffuser, but obviously it's not about downforce, it's not about high performance with this, so it's not the over-the-top design that so many modern cars would have, or the ultimate extreme of that, obviously, is the Valkyrie's Venturi tunnels that literally run beneath the back of it. So this car, what can I say? To be able to drive it is the big, really cool experience opportunity, right? To be able to go out and bring you along for a first drive in this car is super special, because these aren't really going to move a whole lot. And obviously I've not done a massive number of kilometers. It's delivery mileage cars, so we've got to be looking after it. But for RFX Collection to allow me to take this today, really, really, really special chance. The one thing that they mentioned, and I kind of agree with, is that the car looks like it's 10% bigger than other cars. It's almost like when you're sat inside it, you look very small in the car. If you watch back the clip from earlier, you'll know what I mean. Everything's just proportionally correct, but a little bit bigger, if that makes sense. Even down to the badge, the wings badge at the front has grown as well. That's a bigger badge than they used to have on the front of Aston Martins. But that is a general trend anyway across the industry. Really cool day. Very cool car to drive. So thank you very much to RFX Collection. Link is down below if you're not already following the guys. And as always, if you're interested in cars like these, if you'd like to find out about the others of these, check our platform exclusive car registry to be able to take a look through the DBR22s and understand a little bit more about those and the likes of a collection along the lines of RFX Collection. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching as always, guys, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.